especially the way they've existed as of late on Magic Online, is lately they've had 4 Innocent Bloods,
right?
And that's been kind of like the removal, the go-to.
And so no Ghastly Demises.
I haven't seen any Ghastly Demise as of late.
Okay, so Innocent Blood is a little bit stronger against...
it fights Mother of Runes really well.
Right. But the Ghastly Demise, having extra Elam Skulls is always a card, or a good way to go about these things when it comes to a creature-based matchup.
You are. Unless there's another.
And I'm going to see if we can get the Scott Grawe list in front of us so we can be making a little bit more informed observations about what's going to be happening.
G-R-E-W-E here, but I don't think his first name is Scott.
Like there's
I'm excited to watch Lewis Laskin play this green-white deck again.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited about that.
Are you X on one?
And I am very much against, as one of the people in the chat is saying, I'm very much against standstill in a control deck. I think that there's just too much that can go wrong and too much that is just suboptimal about it. I mean, when you're playing against another player, what they can really do is they can turn your standstills, if you've been at all like mana slow, into basically just a really big Merfolk looter effect. And it's just, I find it kind of underwhelming in a lot of ways. Whereas in a Merfolk deck, or any other deck that goes for an aggro control style attack, there I have no problem with the standstill.
It's a lot more exciting. It's a lot more exciting. I'm sure.
A lot of people on here are saying that the green-white deck is at a massive disadvantage, but I'm not really sure that's true. I think Vile's huge in this matchup. I think turn 1 Vile changes everything. So
yeah, the camera's just.
I mean, I think it really depends on how much choice creature elimination that Scott Grawe has decided to choose. Oh, Mishra's Workshop. Now that is a card I love seeing.
And that's a card that makes standstill pretty good.
And we've got green-white on the play. No turn 1 Vile. Yeah. One of the things to remember is that Vile does push things through the counterspells, but it does also make Deeds a lot worse. This is one of the reasons that the Kiki Jiki deck that I had built for States a few years ago was able to beat the affinity decks that were popular, but would lose to the affinity decks that chose to not run Aether Vial, because not running Aether Vial meant that they had all the more threats.
Yeah. They have an extra threat in that card slot after you deeded.
But there's certainly one way to find out. Sure.
Scott decides to brainstorm.
You know, Mishra's Factory is just such a great card. I mean, it's one of those
3/3 on D.
Oh God, I so love that card. It's just one of those cards that you look back to the past, and it's just been a part of so many decks that have won.
That's fine.
Now we've been out here for about 11 hours giving commentary, and I know I can't speak for you, but I know I'm getting pretty tired. These players.
Talking about, I feel great.
these players.
As long as somebody doesn't assemble countertop, I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Here comes the Tarmogoyf coming in for a big 2.
So we've seen some fun new archetypes. We've seen a version of Time Spiral, High Tide, that wins with Emrakul, and that deck is already in the top 8. It's played by Jacob Bao. He has it's a great first name. People with that first name are most people with that first name are very intelligent.
Here we go, a very good use for Standstill in Game 1 in this matchup. Force of Will Bait. Okay, 3/4 for our Tarmogoyf. One of the best plays that can probably happen here is getting down a active Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah, that's the play you want to make on this turn.
At that point, if he doesn't have a response to that, you're going to be able to wasteland the world very quickly.
Targeting him?
Yeah.
I would choose to search.
I like Lewis's Freddy Krueger shirt.
Is that a path to exile? Wow.
1, 2. Lewis gonna get you. 3, 4. Better lock your door.
So this is actually not just a pure black, blue, green, but this is at least 4 colors. So we've got white, which often means then that there's not going to be the innocent bloods or the ghastly demises.
Sure. Good.
Now the other possibility is that this just could be kind of... Oh, there we go, another Tarmogoyf. And it looked to me that the other opponent, his opponent here in this, Scott Grawe, had Pernicious Deed, and pretty much that's about it. Is there a Force of Will there?
I didn't even see the deed.
I see a Pernicious Deed in there.
Okay.
Right there on top, you can see the Pernicious Deed, and it looks like 3
Oh, there
lands.
it is. You're right. Pernicious Steed, certainly the most
Yeah.
exciting card out of Apocalypse. Also a card that became significantly stronger when they printed Planeswalkers because it doesn't kill them, so you can abuse that.
I'm not sure how I feel about this Mishra's Factory getting in there at all. I mean, it's opening itself up to being swords, and losing a land right now is not exciting.
It's actually pretty bad.
Alright, so you'll gain 3 life. Maybe a 20.
Looking at the list we have for Scott Grawe, it's been brought over. He has 4 Tarmogoyf, 3 Jace, and
Day of Judgment.
4 Mishra's Factory as his primary paths to victory here. Actually, I should say as his only paths to victory. There are no other paths besides the 4 Tarmogoyf, 3 Jace, 4 Factory. Now, a lot of times you'll see a deck like this, and there will be, like, say something like a Vidalcan Shackles, or a Crucible of Worlds, which is a secondary path to victory. But in this case, he's just got those 2 cards to bank on.
Not as good as my 2.
Now it looks like Lewis is going to get a chance to untap with this Mangara, and he has a Crocus in play, so...
Oh boy, that is an untap. Yeah. This is a little rough.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen, just to let everyone know, the sales booth will be closing about the end of this round. So if there are any purchasers or sales you wish to make to the buyers, please come over before this round ends. Thank you very much.
Now Lewis has got to be thinking about what could happen at this point.
I mean, I think that you let the block happen and let him go partly into, you know, making this a big enough Mishra's Factory so that you can have the Mangara do its work. Because if you don't do that, if you do it before blocks, the other Mishra's Factory just gets big.
I mean, that's a right of fusion you take,
In response to second activation, I'm going to activate Megara targeting the animated, and in response to that, we'll activate Caracas targeting...
And then we have the very clever Mangara Caracas trick.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tricks this deck has to offer. I actually, at the beginning of the day, I was knocking it so much, but the more I've talked to Lewis, and after seeing the deck play, I'm actually pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And here comes Mom. Mom is there to protect that Mangara for future Mangaras, anyway, from a Swords or a Ghastly Demise or anything like that. And as we saw with that Path to Exile, that means that there's probably already Swords to Plowshares in the deck as well, which means that actually Black Elim is unlikely other than the Pernicious Deed. He's got the mana now for Pernicious Deed, but only popping it for 1 is pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, taking out a Mom for 4 mana
I mean, what he's got to hope for is that Mangara doesn't get activated during the main phase.
Yeah.
Okay. Kasali Pride Mage.
Mage.
Yeah.
Attackers.
Four.
Yeah.
And here comes a big Tarmogoyf, taking a chunk out.
Taking 4 down.
Not actual land stuff.
Put him at 16.
Right, so 16?
Yeah.
Now, if the Mangara is not activated during the main phase, if he waits on the Mangara, then a Pernicious Deed for 2 can hit. And that would actually be pretty devastating.
Go.
And he says go. So here...
Well, it's hard to hit it. Oh, I guess, yeah. He's got it, right?
Yeah, he's got the land. He had several land already. So what's going to happen here is he's going to have a Pernicious Deed hit the table, pop the world for 2, and he'll only have to worry about then a Mangara Caracas in action. Only.
You take one, but
Yeah.
How many cards do you have now?
And Lewis also did not know his opponent was playing black until that land. So it's hard for Lewis to play around Deed at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Tearing the clock out from under Lewis Laskin is going to be, a great moment for Scott, but it still certainly doesn't take him out of this danger zone.
Yeah, he has nothing left, and Lewis has the Mangara thing going right now. So sucks it up. Takes a look at his hand. He realizes he's going to lose such a big chunk of his board here.
Two cards? Three. I'm going to start my first phase, activate Kasali Pride Mage, target Pernicious Deed.
Response.
Legacy players, if you have finished your round and anticipate being in the top 8, please take your deck, sort it out, and bring it up to a judge.
And that's pretty huge.
That's
He just 3 for 1'd him.
Yeah, it's a really huge moment there.
Please bring your deck to the judge station.
Sure.
Umezawa's Jit. Oh, goodness.
It's pretty good.
Attack for 1. There's a counterspell in hand now, but that Mangara is actually really hard to deal with.
How does this card work?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed with Lewis's decision to switch gears like that. I think most people, myself included, would kind of get caught up in this Mangara thing.
Draft open number 2 players.
I probably
Please
would have.
report
I would have too, yeah.
to the registration table. Draft open number 2, top 4 players, please report to the registration table.
All right.
Work. Take 3.
At 11.
Just 3 counters now. Go.
Scott has a lot of counter magic, but counter magic is going to deal with the Mangara. He really needs to draw a card on this next turn, or Lewis just gets him with the Jit.
Here comes a
Factory to
Mishra's
jump in the
Factory
way.
to hop around.
I'll activate this on targeting Mishra's Factory.
Get him out of the way.
No box. Move counter.
Pump.
I'm going to move it.
Pump.
I just need one time.
Take 5.
6.
So put you
Put on
One's-
6.
one swing away from death.
Yep. And Scott Grawe needs this draw step to help. And this is really impressive by Lewis, by the way. The fact that Lewis switched gears like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I would have made this play. Oh, he hit him for the full amount.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that mom eats a counterspell. Now let's pretend that Scott Grawe has a way to kill that Mangara. That Caracas will still save it.
Yeah.
So what he's gonna have to do is have a counter. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
Man, if I was standing over there, I would have clapped.
Like I
like that a lot. That's very true.
Return Mangara. Like,
Oh wow.
Trop and return Mangara.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed by the resiliency that the this green and Taxes build of Death and Taxes seems to have. I really like the green cards.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it seems that.
Knight of Reliquary, those
More
seem
so
really
than the
good.
deck, I'm really impressed with
Welcome to
Lewis'
Deed.
play deck.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know many people who would have switched gears like that with the Mangara, like just having stopped, using it in that way.
I do think that there was the one turn where he opened himself up for the deed for 2.
Yeah, but given he had not seen any sort of anything to tell him that his opponent had black in his deck at all.
That's fair, absolutely fair.
So,
But I mean, he had seen a standstill at that point, and standstill in a lot of ways can be a marker towards Pernicious Deed.
that's reasonable.
How did you end up doing today? Yeah. Okay, we're waiting for game 2 here.
We've got some sideboarding going on.
Sideboarding. It looks like Scott Grawe, he'll have engineered plague. Well, I thought that was going to be engineered explosives, but it's engineered plague.
I could see bringing an engineer plague and naming wizard.
Mangara is a wizard, not a cleric.
Mangara is a wizard, as is Kasali Pride Mage. I should maybe keep it down. As is Kasali Pride Mage. What is Mother of Rune's creature type? Do we know?
I believe it's a cleric.
Is she cleric?
Stone Forge was like the beginning of the end because those are the only 2 cards in my hand besides back.
Right. For a bad game, though, it was a good game.
Is it nice?
So,
A human cleric.
It's so much fun when everyone
I believe Mangara is also human.
I'm like, on turn 12.
Maybe human wizard.
So Mangara is human.
That
That would actually be pretty
That's
impressive.
pretty powerful.
Against Smurf, they mulligan 4 and Force of Will, 3rd turn and 4th turn.
Mangara sounds like a human.
Afterwards.
That's one way to
It's a human.
creature deck.
It is a human?
It's a human.
Well, we'll have to see if Scott catches on.
So turning off mothers and turning off
Mangara
Mangara
seems
seems.
pretty huge. But
Yeah, I got that.
given,
Mother's not all that hot.
Lewis has 4 Pride Mages in his deck.
Yes.
Lewis is not cold to this type of play. Like, Lewis is going to get in there for around 6 damage with that Pride Mage and then just deal with the plague.
Yeah.
But the plague could just come down and be a beating. Like, the plague's going to kill something on the way in, and Lewis is going to have to deal with it. So
One of the really important cards that we didn't see from Laskin in this first game was Gaddock, which shuts off Engineered Explosives, Force of Will, and Jace from his opponent. Now, when it comes to the amount of creature control that Scott has, he has 3 Pernicious Deeds, 2 Engineered Explosives, 4 Swords to Plowshares, 2 Path to Exiles. In his deck, I think Tarmogoyf is creature control up until he changes gears, and he's got 3 Jace the Mind Sculptor, so he's actually very well situated against most decks that have creatures.
yeah, Tarmogoyf for him is just a really good Wall of Tanglecord for the first few turns. I mean, it ends up turning around and winning the game for him, but
What do you think about the possibility of Meddling Mage as a way to deal with things too? You know, cast a Meddling Mage and use it as a way to sop up a Swords, which keeping in Swords is something that's probably going to happen from Laskin because of the Tarmogoyfs, because of the Metrish factories.
Yeah, I mean, Swords is good against factory and those things. Like, Lewis definitely is not bringing the paths, but you want swords.
Yeah.
You're on the play.
There was only one Caracas on the table. The, what is it? The other two were Savannahs.
Yeah.
Lewis has beta Savannahs.
I'm not sure what a beta Savannah goes for these days, but a lot, even though it's Savannah.
Scott's going to have to ship this one back. If he keeps it, I will be very upset with him. Okay, good. I want a real game of Magic.
It'd be sweet if I could like see you go on the 5 before I keep to change the rules.
It's possible. Oh, well, that's possible.
I'd just like to, I know I'm harping on this, but that's a skill that's very hard to, hone as a Magic player.
The changing gear skill?
The changing gears.
That is the hardest, I think, skill to develop. At least in terms of when you transition from being a good player to a particularly good player.
No. It's weird when you have this 1/1 and you decide with your 1/1 that, okay, this 1/1 can destroy a permanent every turn, but I would rather be attacking with it. That's my plan.
Yeah.
That's my best way to win this game.
Yeah.
And he was right.
I think that one of the decks that really has been giving people a lot of practice at this, because this is a skill that I think people have gotten better at over the years, is, and I see Star City Forums member Dar482 bring up fairies. Fairies is absolutely one of the best training wheels when it comes to learning how to change gears.
It's true.
Because unlike a pure aggro control deck, which puts down a clock and then protects it with tempo building cards, Fairies starts out in a more controlling role, and then after being in a controlling role, shifts into an aggressive stance. That kind of hybrid control element is something that really is really perfect for training you how to shift gears, because you have to shift gears pretty much every time you play it.
Yeah. And the other, the one thing is Fairies, though, Fairies has trouble training you in many ways, because Fairies, in many ways, makes it obvious when it's correct. Because Fairies, you're continually passing the turn with your mana open, and when your opponent does something, you have counter spells, and you have removal spells, and you do those things on their end step. And when your opponent stops doing things, then you can play threats on their end step.
Right.
And
right.
So it tells you when to switch gears. But I guess it is a good training tool. But in the same way, but it's much easier to do it with the deck.
It doesn't give you the master level skills of learning how to do it with decks that don't have those advantages.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, we have an opening here. The Underground Sea versus Wasteland Vial. If that Vial is able to last without a Pernicious Deed going off, that Vial is going to be very dangerous. There is, however, a Pernicious Deed in hand. Wasteland is going to be very useful in keeping that deed from being able to get as far along. Like, I think the best... Ooh, a second Vial. If I had Vials right here, I would definitely be... Yep, there we go. Good call.
Pass.
And a go.
Wow.
Yeah, that's devastating.
Waste your time.
Oh, and a second Wasteland. You can see Scott's body language just tossing the cards on the table.
Yeah. Hardly looked at it. This is all but over. Gaddock Teague.
Gaddock Teague. Oh,
actually turns
doctor.
off Force, though. Like, it seems funny that you're like, Gaddock Teague when your opponent has 0 lands in play. Lol, what's that going to do?
Pride
But-
Mage comes down, making the Teague for 3.
End step. Activate their Vial.
Okay. Is that Mangara?
They're going to still respond to that, like, into the end.
Ooh.
that demands a swords.
Is he not going to swords this one? Okay.
Okay, there we go.
You know what? I enjoy playing without any land. That's what he would be saying. I would just rather not have land.
Okay.
I'll take one.
Takes a point. Drops into play a Knight of the Reliquary, which next turn will get a Wasteland.
Yeah, that is a stream of wastelands.
Yes.
Yeah, Scott packs it up.
So,
And Louis Laskin makes it into the top 8. His green and taxes list. I mean, this is one of those decks that I'm really happy about because a lot of the time I see decks that I don't like and I watch them play and I'm like, it's just this clunky thing. But this deck, like I saw the list and I was nonplussed. I just thought it was